Hola, ¿qué tal? Bienvenidos a otra sesión de Satchel Classes. Soy Mr. Castrillón, and today's lesson is going to be about clothing. And the title hopefully will make some sense to you. If you don't make a lot of sense out of it, it's okay. By the end of the lesson, you're going to be able to be very familiar with that expression in Spanish. Today's lesson is a Key Stage 3 lesson for Year 7. However, it doesn't mean that if you're year 8 or year 9 or even year 10 or 11, you don't kind of get to join us. Of course, you are more than welcome to join us and learn a lot of vocabulary today about clothing. Hoy vamos a aprender vocabulario de ropa. Y vamos a decir con qué frecuencia llevamos ciertos tipos de ropa. So without further ado, let's see what or how we pronounce different types of clothing. So here we go. Un jersey. Un jersey. Really important that you notice at the very beginning here with that J, we say jersey. Because most people tend to get confused and they'll go and say jersey, and that's not the right way. Jersey. Un jersey. Also, remember that if the word has un, it is a masculine word. Un jersey. Why is this important? Because if I have a color, say for instance, yellow, and I want to say a yellow jersey or a yellow jumper, then in that case, we need to make it right, or we need to use the appropriate adjective ending. So in Spanish, that would sound something like un jersey amarillo, because it is masculine. Un vestido. Once again, masculine. Una falda. In this case, we can see that falda is a feminine word, and therefore we have to say una. So let's say that I want to say a yellow skirt. In that case, we will have to say una falda amarilla, with the ending a at the end because it is a feminine word. Una gorra. Once again, is a feminine word. Una camisa. Una camiseta. Una sudadera. Unos vaqueros. As you can see, masculine and jeans in Spanish is called vaqueros. But be careful. If you go to Latin America, we don't use the word vaqueros actually. We actually use the word jeans. But just for the sake of being really good at Spanish, just use vaqueros so that when you see them on the exam, or we are actually doing our speaking exam, we can use the right word, vaqueros, instead of just the one that we borrowed from English, which is jeans. Unos pantalones. Unos zapatos o unos zapatos. Remember that Z in Spanish can be pronounced th or sa. Th, Spain, sa, Latin America. Unas botas. Unas zapatillas de deporte o unas zapatillas de deporte. Although it's a very long phrase, in actual fact, it's just trainers. So feel free to just say unas zapatillas. And with that, you would be saying that they are sports ones. So, ¿qué es? What is it? So can you write down the type of clothing that you're going to see? Well, I'm going to be shooting or sending some pictures for you to try and guess what they are. In the meantime, write down what you see. Well, I hope you've managed to find out or work out what the words were. Now let's see which ones are going to somehow disappear. Which one disappeared? Un zapato. What about now? Which one is not on the screen anymore? Un vestido. Un vestido. What about now? Correct. Unos vaqueros. And now? What's missing? Una camiseta. Very well done. Una camiseta. And now? Unas zapatillas. Muy bien. And now? Unos pantalones. And now? Una camisa. Muy bien. Una falda. Un jersey. Unas botas. Una gorra. Now this one, I didn't give it earlier, so I'm going to actually write it here so we know exactly what that is. And that, I'm just going to write it here. We do have a name for that one, but with me a second. Yeah, I've got it here. We call it una sudadera. That's the word we use for that one. Una sudadera. Una sudadera. Okay. So we have different types of clothing. And of course, we all use these ones at different times of the day or during different days. Now, in the meantime, can you work out the pairs of endings and beginnings? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 2 minutes or 3 minutes for you to put them together and see how they actually match with each other. So 2 minutes for you to work out the endings that go with the right beginning. Go for it. Two minutes left. One minute left. Right, so let's see what your answers are. Jersey, vestido, falda, gorra, camisa, camiseta, sudadera, vaqueros, pantalones, zapatos, botas, zapatillas de deporte. Very well done. Let's continue with our lesson. So at the very beginning, we had this kind of weird sentence saying, Llevo puesto. And I have a question here. ¿Qué llevas puesto? That means, what are you wearing? Now, I have the sentence or the phrase llevo. Llevo means I wear, but be very careful. This is only now that we're talking about clothing, because llevo also means I carry, as in like I carry a child. Llevo un niño. Now, because we are talking about clothing, you are allowed to use the word llevo because it's something that you have on. So, ¿qué llevas puesto? Llevo puesto o llevo una camisa, unos vaqueros. Llevo unos zapatos negros. Always improve your sentences by giving colors to the different types of clothing that you have. And of course, we've done colors before, and colors are not that difficult in Spanish. So feel free to do that yourself. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes for you to write down what you are wearing. And my suggestion is include three types of clothing, particularly from the ones that I have here on my list. Okay, but don't feel that you have to restrain yourself to these words only. You can use as many words as you want. You can use the word for sandals, sandalias, if you are wearing sandals. Or if you are wearing heels, zapatos de tacón. That's how we say heels in Spanish. So feel free to use any sort of new words that you can think of just to complement or to make your own sentences better. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes to write at least 3 sentences describing what you are wearing right now. Now, if you can't be bothered using your own clothing, just make it up. Make up your own clothing. Okay? 3 sentences, and I'll give you 3 minutes for that. Go for it. One more minute left. Well, how did it go? I hope you managed to write some sentences telling me or describing what you're actually wearing. I said earlier that you could actually make your own kind of clothes if you wanted to, if you didn't want to describe what you were wearing right now. Now, there's something beautiful, and it's you could actually say, I would like to wear, right? And if that is the case, I'm just going to give you that here, and you can actually write it down, and you can use it at any time later on in another lesson. Me gustaría llevar. Me gustaría llevar. That means I would like to wear. Me gustaría llevar un vestido o me gustaría llevar una camisa. And feel free to add puesto. Me gustaría llevar puesto unos vaqueros o me gustaría llevar puesto una gorra. The most important thing is that the world is your oyster and you can actually practice with them. Okay? Let's continue with our lesson now. We do have some expressions that we can use to say how often we wear certain things. And I have decided to use these kind of dotted lines so you can see what they actually imply. The first one we have is this one. It's a kind of a green long line and it never stops. And it means siempre, always. The next one is going to be normalmente. The next one is a menudo. And then we have a veces, sometimes, a veces. And finally, nunca. So I invite you, I would like you to write them down because they are going to be very important when you are actually talking about what you wear and how often you do it. For instance, siempre llevo una gorra. I always wear a hat. Normalmente llevo un abrigo. I normally wear a coat. A menudo llevo zapatillas de deporte. A veces llevo puesto una gorra. Nunca llevo puesto una sudadera. So I hope you understand what I've just said. I'm going to repeat them for you. Siempre llevo una camisa. Normalmente llevo puesto una gorra. A menudo llevo puesto una camiseta. A veces llevo puesto un abrigo. Y nunca llevo puesto unos pantalones. As you can see, all these sentences are a little bit of play game and you can play with them as well. Okay? ¿Y tú? Normalmente, ¿qué llevas? O a veces, ¿qué llevas? O que nunca te pones, que nunca llevas. Muy bien. Today you learn how to say I wear, llevo. You also learn frequency words and use them to improve your sentences. Siempre, normalmente, a menudo, nunca, a veces. And you learn vocabulary related to clothing. If you've made it this far, very well done to you. Muy bien. In the meantime, I'm saying goodbye, and I hope I can see you very soon in another Satchel class. Muchos éxitos. Hasta la vista.